Okay, let's get the recording going. It's 8 o'clock. So it's my pleasure to welcome Emma Viglucci to the call on the Power of Category Interconnectivity. So Emma, as well as being our love relationship category champion, she's been running her business Metro Relationships since the year 2000. So we're looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that later on. But it's so cool to have you on this call, Emma, and a huge welcome. And I'm really fascinated about the crossover between love relationships and spirituality, which is a spiritual life month we're in at the moment. And every time I listen to John and Missy and we attend their calls, I think we get that sense of that really strong spiritual connection that is part of their relationship, and a reminder of just how interconnected love and spirituality are. So without further ado, absolute welcome, Emma. And I would firstly like to find out how you first discovered Lifebook and what it's meant to you.
Well, so first of all, thank you for having me here. And thank you for those of you who are joining us today. And it's an honor to be sharing some time with you all. So thank you. And the question was how I discovered Lifebook, or was that right?
How and when did you discover Lifebook, and how has that evolved?
Yeah, so I discovered it by accident. So I was playing on YouTube, I believe, and I saw the ad, and of course John and Missy are so handsome and gorgeous and caught my eye. And of course then they described what Lifebook is in a nutshell and what it would do for somebody who would go through the process, how to create a vision and then make the vision happen and become a reality. So it just sounded really pretty, the way that they positioned it, the way that they looked, and the setting and everything. And of course they filmed in Hawaii, so they promised heaven, living in heaven. And I was like, oh, I want to live in heaven. And so it sounded really nice, the way that they described it. And of course, just the work itself, right? So as a mental health professional and as a relationship and life coach and therapist, psychotherapist, just the whole idea of how do we do ourselves and our lives better was very attractive. So any program that promises things like that, I'm curious. And of course, they're so enigmatic. So I figured, let me check this out. And so that's how that's the beginning of the journey. And that wasn't only in the year 2021. So I haven't been around that long. I'm my third year. And that's it in a nutshell.
Great. Okay. And then, so you joined in 2021, and then by 2022, you've been snapped up as our love relationship.
So let me give you a little bit of background there. So in 2021, I was doing my own thing, playing around like everybody else. And I attended one of the couple of connection calls, I believe. And in chatting and people learned what I do, they invited me to facilitate at a couple of events, I think, in 2021. And one of them was the relationship retreat. That it was the first year that we did the relationship retreat, the Thrive in Love. And so since then, I'm trying to think when I became the champion. The champion was only last year, May of last year. So I stuck around just playing. And then when the prior champion stepped down, Vin and Tin, I was recommended as a potential love champion. And that was last May. So I jumped in, woo, let's do Love Month. So that was like a mad race, being a new champion and jumping in at the time of Love Month. So that was like a little bit hot fire there. Yeah. And then so I'm happy to have lovely co-champions, Melia and Patrick. So we have a beautiful love month planned for this month. So I'll say more about that at the end of today's call. And that's going to be so fun. And we're also planning the love retreat, the third one. Now we did one last year also. And now we are getting ready for this year. So we have all kinds of goodies lined up for you guys.
Great. If people want a bit of a sneak peek at what the Thrive and Love retreat is about, definitely I recommend going back to previous past workshops and look up Emma's name will get you to the list of where you've been a panelist and where you've the different love relationship workshops from last year. So yeah, I recommend checking that out if you're wanting to jump in ahead of time to Love Relationship Month. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very good.
Tell us, please, Emma, about your business, Metro Relationships, please.
Sure. So after working for almost a decade in foster care after college, and while I was going for my master's here in the US, I decided that I wanted to work with families in a different capacity and realize, I mean, I already knew, and most people probably know, that to have a good family, you have to have good parents and a good couple. And so I decided to focus in working with couples, not necessarily the whole family or the children part that I was working with in foster care, but rather doing therapy with the couples. And so I started my private practice in the year 2000 that focuses primarily on working with couples and partners. And it's all about how to become our best self so that we could be our best in our relationship. And we do that either individually or in couple work. And so that the relationship could be really enhanced and improved and be a support for the life journey.
Right. All right. So yeah, that's great work that you're doing there, and I love that. All right. So the next question I really like to ask is to find out a little bit about what your category of strength was coming into Lifebook, and if that's changed at all over your journey.
Love it. So my top categories were life vision and character strength. And I don't know if they've changed. I haven't done the assessment again. And if I think about it, I don't know. But I think that all of the numbers probably went up even more. So, I mean, I was pretty strong in a lot of them already. I had a couple of little bleeps here and there. Quality of life was like in the tanker. So that's the one that I've been focusing on. But financials was also a little shaky. So I had to step up my game in the finances so I could be a better partner to my husband with that. And so I don't know if they've changed per se, but that's kind of like my little map there, my little disclosure, the strengths and the work growth places.
Okay, cool. And I think that sort of really illustrates that there is so much connectivity between those different categories, that the fact that your life vision is strong, and that does indicate that there's all those crossovers between, so for instance, character and love, and then love and building that quality of life together. All those things. That's a real note that they are all so connected.
Oh yeah, the connectivity is so crazy, right? For sure. Yes. So financials affect all quality of life, your vision, if you achieve it or not, the relationship, it could create a strain in the relationship. The couple of, in my opinion, affects everything. Or most things. And then all of the personal strengths, spiritual, mental health, I mean, all of those affect us. And of course, then how we show up to the relationship. So all of it is interconnected. So I love that that's built into this system. And of course, family, social and parenting. Are you kidding? So definitely all interconnected. So
yeah, right. We're looking forward to so we've got love relationship next month, parenting the next month, and there's that real connection flowing through. But this month we're still in spiritual life month.
Yep.
So what is your take, Emma, on the connection between love and spiritual life?
Yes. So I believe that our partner is our life partner, and for a reason. And from the work that I do, the partner serves as a mirror to show us all the places where we need to stretch and grow and evolve and expand, right? So in relation, so I'm going to give you the roundabout answer. So in relationship, if I get annoyed at something that my partner does, it's not that they did something per se, but it's something about me, right? So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the 80-20 rule, that 80, like in our relationship, 80% of what annoys me or hurts me is about me, and 20% is about the infraction that my husband might have done, let's say, right? And so in relationship, when my partner is doing something and something's happening for me, then that's a gift. It gives me the opportunity to see, what's going on for me? Why am I triggered? Why am I upset? Why is that annoying? And so I get the opportunity to heal, grow, expand, evolve, and all the things. So my partner is a gift. They're a mirror to help me become my best self, and vice versa. And so the partnership is a mechanism for creating our best life here on this Earth, 3D planet Earth, but also it's an opportunity to help us expand as human beings so that we continue our awakening in our ascension process, right? So they help us do our karma better, do all of our things better, so that we continue to evolve as a spiritual being having a human experience. Bam.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's, yeah, no, and that's I think that's a slightly new take on how I would look at it, and that really gets me thinking about some specifics, and also just that ensuring that we take from the relationship all that it can give us, especially in those different areas. So
for sure. I mean, that's one way, right? That's the primary lens that I use. Just how do we help each other become our best self so that we can continue to do the journey together in our personal journey. But of course, then you have intimacy, and you have sex, and you have energy, and there's all kinds of other things, right? And so
all those different levels of where it relates. Right. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about you've spoken about the connection with other categories. Do you have any specific stories or thoughts on the connection of the love relationship with and the power of its connectivity to other categories?
For sure. So definitely some of the interconnectivities are more obvious, right? So for example, couple/parents, parenting category. So that's very obvious. Then as a couple, we can create a social life together. Of course, people have their own individual social lives, but then as a couple, you create social environments and networks and family and everything else. I'm trying to think of the other categories. Financial, obviously, how you do the finances properly so you could achieve joint goals, which leads me to vision and achieving things and quality of life, right? So then you make decisions together on how to make things better for your life and your experiences and your home, right? And partners are two different people, and it's not easy to make all of those joint decisions and to have all the same preferences and to line up on everything and to collaborate easily. So these are all places where partners might get stuck. And so if the love category is strong and partners are using their skills and all of their strengths, and it's where character strengths come in, and they're showing up with their best selves, then it makes it easier to have better interactions and to have each other's back better and to work on all of the different life areas together. So I'm trying to think of the other categories. Health and fitness is a big one. If partners support each other in their own individual goals for dieting, for exercise, for lifestyle, for in terms of like routines throughout the day, when to go to sleep. So here's an example. Here's a little story. So I like to stay up late. My husband likes to go to sleep early. I don't necessarily sleep in too late, but he gets up much, much earlier than me. And so finding that mutual time to go to bed is not easy. So he was traveling last week and he was in Ireland, and obviously we're in the States, and we were connecting somewhere in the middle of the day, so it made sense for our schedules. And then he says, okay, it was like 7 o'clock our time, and he's like, okay, I'm getting ready to go to bed. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, I've been staying up until 2 a.m. Woohoo! So it's funny because when we're not together, I'm going to sleep much later. He's going to sleep much earlier. But when we are together, we find a time that kind of works for both of us. Like he's stretching to stay up later, and I'm stretching to go to sleep earlier. But so that's one way, right? In that, that's for quality of life and lifestyle, let's say. So that's one way to have an example of interconnectivity there. But what else? So wellness, fitness, that's the other one, right? So just how do you do your routines, that affects that. The foods that we eat and the choices that we make. I tend to want to have all the healthy stuff. And here's another example. This past weekend, my daughter's home from college, and I cave in. Don't judge me, everybody. This is not a great example of things. So we're running around doing mommy daughter things, all the fun things. And then she's like, let's get Taco Bell. And that's one of my weaknesses. And I'm like, oh man, I can't. And it's like, all right, fine. So I give in, and we come home with Taco Bell, and my husband's like, what is happening? You're supposed to be the one that keeps us healthy. That's not okay. I'm the one supposed to make the bad choices. So that was funny. That, I keep us in line, and so that's another way, like in health and fitness, right? So how we could support each other and have each other's back. I'm the influencer in that category with that. So I mean, there's a little bit of in all of the categories. That's the whole point, right? So with intellectual, he recommends the books, and he's more data driven. So he impacts anything that has to do with data and information in our home or technology, like mental month. Spiritual, I influence that. So we have our strengths where we show up with our talents and our strengths and our preferences more, and we influence. I don't know if that's answering the question in terms of how the couple affects things.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think, I'd like to jump back to, you mentioned about social life. And yes. I think that's always a challenging one, that we realize more so than we have before when we come into Lifebook, just how the people we associate with really do impact who we are and who we're becoming. And I think as a couple, that's even more important in that we will associate with different people, but also we want to associate with people that we both connect with. And in actually looking into the empowering relationships that we have with others, and specifically how because that does impact. It's always curious to me how as a couple our relationship with each other is impacted by the people we're around, and how we behave towards each other based on if we're with our siblings, or if we're with old friends, or old friends of one of ours, or whatever. So that can be the power of actually analyzing our friendships and those relationships and actually working out which ones build us as a couple and which ones do actually, pull us down or separate us
Oh,
is,
absolutely. Yes. So there's so many different angles on that, right? Um, Definitely partners have their own individual friends and their own family of origin, right? And then they have people that they met together or that they brought in at their joint acquaintances, friends, relationships. And even family members sometimes are not very supportive or good influences, right? So it's harder to have less contact or having more choice with that than with friendships. But of course, you still can make choices around who you spend your time with and how much and how. But for sure, something that I found in my work is that it's interesting. Like a few clients are coming to mind in that they would share that if, let's say, I have a few of them that are coming to mind, like the partners cheated. And then we would do the work to repair and to rebuild, and then they would make referrals of their friends who also cheated. And meanwhile, I have a whole list of couples who this is not even an issue. Very interesting, right? So this group of people who, although their friends cheated, right? And those are the people that they're referring. So definitely influencing. Same thing with divorce. People who have partners who came from prior relationships, and most of their friends are remarried and have more divorces. And then you have other couples of families who just have very little experience with that in their background or in their friendships. So there's definitely something to that there's a flavor to what people do in their lives. Like this is what we know, this is how it is, right? Not necessarily. Maybe for you.
yeah, exactly. That's definitely, that impact and that acceptance of what's okay and what's actually not okay for you as for yourselves as a couple as to what will work. Yeah.
And something else with that, I mean, in other ways that I've seen groups of people influence people, and I'm sure you guys have seen this too. And of course, we could open this up for discussion at some point. But you see social economic people hang out with the same kind of people, like people who have a lot of money hang out with each other, people who have little money hang out with each other, and like that's just your peer group, by education level, right? So definitely people tend to gravitate toward like-minded people, and more spiritual groups of people have all of that in common. Some other groups are so not. And by politics, I mean, yeah. So we definitely create little silos or spheres of influence.
And that's, like they say, you will become in the next 5 years like the 5 people you spend the most time with. And it's about comfort zones as well, isn't it, Emma? And I think you've probably seen that when you're in a comfort zone and you're comfortable with people at this level, even though you're reaching for something more, that challenge to actually take yourself out of that zone of influence that you're not as happy with, but you're comfortable there. You feel you feel better about yourself because of where you're at, rather than trying to emulate someone who you feel is further ahead on the path or has achieved more.
Well, that's the best way to use this concept, right? We become the 5 people that we associate with. And I think that's how we're using it in most of circles like this one. In that, okay, so if I want to step up my life and create the next level of my relationship or my life, who or what, meaning content and information, do I need to associate with? Right. So if I hang out with a bunch of single people, what does that mean for my couple? If I whatever, if I hang with a bunch of couples who just are always arguing, one friend is coming to mind. She was sharing, we were chatting, and I was sharing some thoughts and just information, just stuff that I do and say and how I am, whatever. And she was taken back by some of the concept and some of the mindset and just way of approaching things. She's like, oh my gosh, this is a breath of fresh air. All my friends just bitch and moan about their husbands. Right? And so that they just go out, have a few drinks, and just bitch and moan. That's not how you create your best relationship and your best life, right? And so she was actually surprised by that. And so her group of friends, that's what they do. And of course, all of the relationships are mediocre. Sorry, right? And so they're all dissatisfied. So yes, if we hang out with more loving people, more caring people, people who invest in their relationships, people who invest in their spirituality, people who invest in the next level of life, whatever the thing is that we're working on, and yes, who you hang out with, you pull each other up, right? And everybody, and it's just different mindset. And if you hang out with people at the next level already, then those are the role models. And sometimes it's hard to hang out with the people at the next level, because how do you find the people at the next level? Your circle is your circle, right? So that's part of the challenge here. But you could start baby steps, right? John has all kinds of thoughts about this, but you could start with the YouTube, with the books, and just the information, and at least you're immersed in your mindset to start with, and that starts opening things up. So then you could actually find the people also.
And I think that's where, things like places like the Lifebook Community, we're so lucky to have this, this international community that we can connect with. And yes, it's online, but at some point, we actually get to connect with and meet with people that we would only know because of being connected online in this community. So yeah,
100%.
When I was a new mum, this is a few years ago, and it took me a little while to realize, but I got a lot of support from other mums, and we were in a home birth group, and we would meet a lot. But I realized at one point, it took me a little while to realize, but they were always saying how useless their husbands were, their partners were, there was always complaining going on. And it was really, and there was a point at which I realized this was dragging down my opinion of men in general, that I realized this is not okay. This is not the way I want to, it became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, so, very, very good. It just I just had another thought. What was it? It fell out. It'll come back.
We'll come back.
Yeah, so, but this is terrific conversation, in that for sure all of the things impact, as I'm sure everybody here is already aware of all the interconnectivity between the categories, and it's nice to kind of highlight it again and see how, and just get a fresh view on the interconnectivity. So I appreciate you for doing this, Maddy. But also, I remember it came back. So the whole thing about the Lifebook community, why this is so beautiful, in my opinion, is that it's as like-minded as we are, we're also very different, right? So it allows for that individuality, for that difference. And there's 12 ways of having strengths, right? Different groups. So then we could also create groups within our strengths, and if somebody is struggling in a particular category, they do have the role models within that category of people who that's their strength, right? And so it's all built in. How beautiful is that? So you could be a rock star in some categories, and then you could lift other people up with you. And if you struggle in some category, there are people who are doing much better there, so they could lift you up, kind of thing. So it's all built in. That's so beautiful.
It is, yeah. And I think that is such a cool thing about it, that we all have strengths. It's not about oh, well, you've got to improve all of these things. No, it's actually about, what are your strengths, and using them and the power of category interconnectivity, that strength, to build up the categories that you're perhaps not as strong on, but to use them both.
Excellent.
Use them together, and understand just how that impacts. A win anywhere is a win everywhere.
That's right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep. Very nice.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll definitely have some time. If anyone has some questions or wants to share, that would be great. But I'd really love it right now, Emma, if you could share with us a little bit about what you've got in mind for next month. Did you say something about there'll be another Thrive in Love retreat?
Yes, I did. But before I do all of that announcement, if you don't mind, Maddy, I would love to hear from the people who are here, if your guys' experiences with interconnectivity between a spiritual and love month, or with all of the other categories. If you want to make comments, share, ask questions, whatever, that would be terrific.
All right, good. Oh, Yvonne, do you like to share?
Yes, this all relates so well to me. It's interesting with the love and spirituality, and I never had made the true connection before, but I was in a challenging marriage, we'll just say that, and I realized I had it, it had to come from inside. I had to heal before making a decision on whether to leave or not. And so I focused on myself, like through Al-Anon, and really got in touch with my higher power, and that exploded spirituality for me. And once I realized a whole new life in that category, it made my decision for my love life easy. So I left. But when I continued the work in spirituality, that's when I met my current partner, like years later. But it's so interesting because the entire dynamics of your life change, even with just those two categories. I mean, forget about all the other ones, because when you have that spirituality and somebody bogs down your growth in it, or shames you for it, or says, well, that's not the way it is, because religion is not spirituality, and some are more religious than spiritual. I was stunted. Like, my whole growth was stunted. My emotions were stunted. My career was stunted. My health was stunted. All of it, like in your connectivity, just by those two, by shifting the spirituality category, which shifted my partner, so my love category. And it's amazing when you don't have that connectedness in love, how detrimental it is to your health, to your fitness, to your I mean my ex, it's just kind of a funny thing. He used to tell me not to go to the gym to work out because I'd be wasting calories, so I would need to eat more food, and food's expensive. Like, things that don't even make sense, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. But when you've been in this for years and years and years and years, you're going, I'm going to go work out, but it's struggling in the mind to even make sense of things, which is very stressful. But when you flow, like you find somebody you flow with, like everything grows exponentially in all the categories. And that's just so apparent to me now, this is my second year in Lifebook. The difference it's made in every category, just changing partners. And also my family, I found that I won't say I'm growing apart from them. They're 3 hours away, which is not a bad thing, but the energy is still very different, and I get along with them great, but I still find that I have to realize there's challenges, and they're me, and it's a mirror, but I just find I have to take breaks. Like, even for Christmas, I have to walk away for half an hour and just have some wind down time. They're not calm people. And so that super affects you as well. And that affects health, the health category, because at Christmas there was so much chaos, and all happy chaos. It was not bad chaos, bad drama. It was just, think big family, everybody together. It's chaos. And it took me a couple days to recover. just to get back to my normal when I came home. And at Easter, I decided to take, a break in the middle of the craziness, and I didn't need any time to recover. So it's just all round. Everything is so interconnected, and I just realized how much changing my partner changed everything.
Well, I will also add that not only did you change your partner, you changed yourself first.
Yes, absolutely. Like for
Right?
a few years, not just a little bit, but a few
Right.
years. And when I was ready, I announced to the universe, and I wrote down 19 things on a list. It was 19, I don't know why. It took me a couple of years to write it. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm ready. So it's probably 3 years it took me. Now I'm ready. And 2 weeks later, I met my partner. I had met him, but then super connected with him. So it's so true if you don't do the work yourself. And he was happy by himself, and I was happy by myself. So we could make it work. And we were on the other side of the country. He had to move to the other side of the country. So.
What a beautiful story. Thank you so much for sharing. And I love that when the relationship wasn't working, that all of the areas were also impacted. That's massive. Right? Because yes, people don't realize, like, your health gets affected, your lifestyle gets affected, your finances get affected, your parenting gets affected, your mental health, your emotions, your everything. Right. And so you find a point, like with the spirituality and getting sober and all these different pieces, where you said, okay, this is the thing. And as you started changing that and exploded, then you were able to make additional decisions, and then everything else also flowed. Right. So kudos. That's just tremendous. That's such a beautiful thing. And thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. And it takes time. Just don't let anyone think it's a flip of a switch. It took us if it took us 50 some years to get this way, allow for 4 or 5 to switch it back.
Thank you for that. Yeah, people get very impatient, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah, thanks, Yvonne. That really got me thinking as well about that the whole family dynamic thing of when we go back into our birth family and that pressure. And something I learned recently, I had my eldest brother was visiting from the UK, and I always knew that my family were very different, and it can be challenging having us all together. And I loved spending time just with him, and his partner and daughter was so different to spending time with them with other members of the family. So my eldest brother is very, the universe will provide, things will work out. I don't need to make the plans will happen. We are very much at that end of the spectrum. Whereas my other brother loves to be organized. He and his wife, just things have to be organized, all those ducks in a row, everything planned to the nth degree. And they're at complete opposite ends of the spectrum. So you can imagine what happened with them together. But being with them individually, I can enjoy them. But when we're all together, there's an element of needing to try and keep the peace, which, like you say, you've got to recover from that kind of holiday with your family. But just that understanding that I don't have to agree with either one. I can actually have my own ideas about this and say, well, it would be a good idea if you actually call your friend so that we can meet with him, Ian, and then tell Andrew, look, this is Ian's holiday. He's deciding what he wants to do. It's okay. This is not our problem. If they want to stay in the airport on their way home for 10 hours and not go and do anything, that's their choice and that's what works for them. It's okay. And yeah, that still connecting with our family, but recognizing when that doesn't serve us or doesn't serve each other. All right.
Good,
So
very good.
any other questions? Right. Yeah, cool. Any other questions or shares, or shall we jump into what's coming up next month?
Well, so if I could just add to what you just said, Maddy, and what Yvonne has been saying, those are gorgeous observations in terms of how to take care of ourselves in the midst of chaos, and how to do family dynamics better. So that's pretty significant in our lives, where part of families for them, you know, unless like you're an orphan and you live in a cave, but for the most part, you have a circle of people around you of some sort, whether they're birthed by birth or in some other way. And one of the things that's very important to keep in mind is for us to be accountable for ourselves, right? So to be intentional about how we show up to interactions and to events and to gatherings and to things, and not to project things into other people or to have these expectations of other people or to assume things about other people and to assign motives to other people. Sometimes, you know, people get a little funky in their head and they create more drama, negative drama, not fun, exciting Christmas drama, like you were saying, Yvonne, but like funky drama, right? And people fighting with each other, or the gossip, or the things, or the criticism and the shaming, or the talking behind people's back, and whatever funny things that people might do in their circles. And how about we keep our side of the street clean, like they say, and we show up with our best selves to the best of our ability, and we mind how we show up as a couple, right? We make a plan with our partner, how we want to show up to things. What is our couple brand, if you may, right? So how do we want to be seen as a couple? How do we want to be perceived? How do we want to influence? How do we want to empower others, be a role model to others, and operate from the best place, the higher road that we could possibly can. Nobody's perfect. But with that mindset and with that in mind, so that we could be a force for good and not a force for not good. And we could influence, right? We could bring the peace, we could bring the soothing, we could bring the excitement, we could bring the fun. And yes, it might take time to recharge afterwards. Like even fun times take sometimes. But however we could do that, but just being mindful of our side of it, our 80%, right? Individually and as a couple, our 80%, because then this couple has 80%, you know, another couple might do 20%, right? So it depends on the context of things. Okay. But just being mindful of how the choices that you make, how you show up, the words that you use, the language that you use, the actions that you take. And then if you're getting crap from people, sometimes we invite it. Don't shoot the messengers, and sometimes we co-create it, right? And so, or we seduce it from others. We inspire it from others. We show up with our funky stuff, and then we're surprised that we get funky stuff from other people. So something to keep in mind.
True. That's the expectation that my sister's going to really, push my buttons and treat me like the baby sister again, and all of those things that is actually what I'm bringing to it, instead of bringing, like you say, bringing our best selves to the occasion.
Exactly. Good for you. Exactly.
Right. So Ken, would you like to share?
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Is this on? Yeah. Good. Hi, everybody. Really enjoying your conversation. It affects everybody. You know, people think that, oh my God, this is what's going on with me. Nobody can relate to that. And yet everything that's being said is touching every part of us. I'm so in love with Lifebook. This is my 3rd year. And I just had this conversation with somebody on the phone about that very thing. You know, she has all these issues and things like that. And I was telling her about Lifebook. You know, she can't see the pie. She can't see the 12 categories and the numbers and so on and so forth. And the ideal is that it's a full wheel, when, you know, her relationships might be a 0, a 1, or a 2, and how it affects her whole life. You know, it's clear to you and to me and to us, but you know, we're fortunate to have this gift. So while you were talking just now, I just was writing down these things, and yes, 1 or 2 categories affects, seems like everyone. You know, they're all interrelated, interconnected, be it whatever it is. It is a mindset. It is where our heart is. It is whether our heart is closed or whether it's open. So I just wrote down some things that, can I have a minute? And I'll share these, and then any feedback, welcome. I wrote down, we are our environment. our community, and our layers. Talking about our conscious mind and versus our subconscious mind. People don't realize that about the subconscious, how powerful that is, and all the layers that are there. People don't know who they are. They really don't know who they are because they don't know their subconscious is doing what it's a control center. And if they don't know who they are, and they're judging all these people outside of them, and so on and so forth, it's just a real crazy dynamic. And I feel like everybody's helter-skelter going in all different directions and not really having this clear identity. To be or not to be, that's the question. What's the answer? Okay, I wrote down things like be at peace versus stressed out. I think the key words have become, for years now, people feel worried, anxious, uncertain, but stressed out, and then stressed out has become overwhelmed. And I think because of the pandemic, people have lost sense of community or connection in a big way. I feel that there's a lot more anger and so on and so forth, and that has a lot to do with what's going on inside of themselves. Okay, the subconscious mind, okay. Each of the categories, we have health and fitness and intellectual, emotion, spirituality, right now being in spirituality. And I've been writing every day on this in my Instagram about all these different things, not coming from anywhere, but coming from some kind of through me. And it really makes sense, a lot of sense to me. And it's a message to people, but whether they see it or not, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, what we are doing, we're doing the work. We're most people are not. They're oblivious to who they are and where they're going. And I talk about the idea of a Model H GPS, a Model H for the human beings. The GPS works well for the car. We drive the car. You put in where you are and where you want to go to, and it gets you there, and usually right on schedule. People don't have their own human GPS, and they're going in all different directions. If you don't know where you're going, most likely you're going to end up somewhere else. That's a yogiism, and it's simple but true. Okay, the GPS. I think one term that's really important is to be at peace. And each of these categories, one is the environment, one is the community, and things like this. And everything that we're talking about, all these different categories, it all affects whether we're at peace or we're out of peace. And when you talk about things like being either authentic or being accountable, I use the word integrity, being their word, being who they are. When you talk about just now about people who have had affairs, I've often wondered about that, how they can live after an affair together as a couple, because that vow has been broken, that promise has been broken, and trust, where is that? And I don't know if people are honest about it, hey, honey, I had an affair, this or that, or if they try and deny it. So that's another question. But lastly, I was just going to say to sum it, one or two categories can affect everything. Whether it's your finance, you're stressed out. If it's your relationships, you feel depleted. You feel less than. You feel not worthy. You feel not loved. You're not able to love. All those things. The environment. If the environment is organized, aligned, and so on and so forth, people are in that flow. Keywords to me are flow and harmony and alignment. But when you're out of that, you're out of sync, and people are lost. Quite often they say that they're lost. How do I find myself? That's what we're doing, So the environment, stressed, overwhelmed. And one last question I want to ask, because this is pertinent to me right now. I mentioned this in an earlier call. I miss my spiritual community. I used to have it, and I love it when I have that circle. And right now, my relationship, my community is, I feel different now. It's changed. And I don't feel lonely, but feel alone. I've got my family, which I'm very blessed and very fortunate with, and I've got some close friends, but I'm used to having a lot of friends or making friends just by saying hello. Times have changed. My books, my tapes, the messages, those are invaluable. But they mentioned to me about going to our, and I've been wanting to do this, into our Lifebook community. And it doesn't have to be, right here in the physical location where I am. I'm in Palo Alto, California, but it could be Switzerland. It could be anywhere, just to have this kind of connection. That's why I feel so close with you, Maddy and Emma and Yvonne. Loved your shares. To have what you were talking about, that kind of support and that kind of growth. I'm really, really good at supporting others, and would love to do that. But also, I want to be the best that I can be, and I write about that all the time. To be the best be that we can be, and I want that spiritual
That's
circle.
beautiful.
So thank you guys.
Thank you so much for all of your thoughts. Those are so fabulous. And I love the summary and the questions and the insights. And I'm happy that you found the community here so you don't feel so alone, hopefully. And just nurturing these connections, right? So that's where the yumminess comes from. So I love that you show up to all of the events and you're so engaging. So thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you so much for saying that. It's all about the heart, and it's all within. People are looking for answers outside of themselves, and it's all within. And when people say namaste, to recognize and honor to see who you are, and appreciation and love. That's where I come from, and that's what I feel with you guys in our community. So
Right.
thank you. Bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So Emma, I think just all it all remains is a bit of a sneak peek into next month, and
Yes. So a couple of things. So we are going to launch the month with an event on June 1st. So I'm about to post all of the things that we have planned. So stay tuned. That's going to set up the month, and it's also going to explain the beautiful challenge that we have in store for you. It's going to be a fun one. And so keep an eye out for that one. That's going to be on the 1st. On the 3rd, we're going to have the third Thrive in Love retreat. That is also going to be amazing. We have a great experience planned, and great presentations and experiences and activities, and just great takeaways. And then let me look at my little list. We have additional events on deepening love. So before I present those, Melia and Patrick are going to hang out with Diego and Sunny. Some of the couples might join as well, just to talk about money and couples. So that should be fun. Don't miss that. And then I am going to deepen it a little bit further with just how to connect deeper with your own self, and how to give yourself love, and how to reprogram things, and how to take care of things, and from a loving place, how love benefits your own development, and then all of your relationships, especially your partner relationship. Additionally, we're going to take it a step further. And this, I think, Maddy, you will really enjoy this, and Ken too, given what you said, that I am going to do levels of consciousness connected with how do we do ourselves and how that impacts our relationship. So I'm going to bring it all full circle. It's going to be really fun, connecting how to expand that love consciousness.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
So, thank you. So it's going to go up, love consciousness. It's going to go inwards with taking care of our inner child, our inner baby, our inner self, all of our innards. And then Millie and Patrick are going to do something else for category 13. So that's going to be super fun. They're rocking it over there with that on a monthly basis. They're putting out events on that category. So feel free to check that out. And then we're going to do a wrap up. So this is kind of like an event a week, aside from the challenge, which is going to be like daily prompts and things. And so the last week, we're going to do kind of a recap, takeaways, and how to have and embrace a love journey going forward, like takeaways to create a practice, an easy way to work on this category ongoingly, even if you're working on other categories, or potentially you're just working on this one because this is the one that needs the most help for you, whatever your story is, just how to implement things fairly easily and use your takeaways to continue to enrich your love life with yourself, finding a partner, and with a partner if you already have one.
That's
It in a nutshell.
That is great. Love the love.
Love the love. That's perfect. That's right.
Thank you so much, Emma. That sounds wonderful. Really looking forward to it. And that's all starts in the next week. So yeah, that's going to be really cool. Yeah. So
Maddy, if I could just throw one last thing out there, you had asked me if I could do a primer, so to help people get set up for the upcoming month. So this is everybody's homework, or just being priming the pump, like Esther Hicks likes to call it. Whatever analogy you want to use for this. But so 2 things. Number 1, think of your life vision and say, how does my relationship with my partner support my journey of creating my life vision? Now, whether your partner's in Lifebook with you or not, I know that people struggle with this, or if you're single, tricky, then how does love, or looking for love, or my expectations of love, maybe I'm not working on my life vision because I'm waiting to have a partner first, right? Some people have some ways of doing life that might not be serving them. And so how are you working on your life vision in a way through the love category that serves you? So are there things that are holding you back? Are there things that are really supportive? Identify what's really awesome and working. Identify the areas that might need a little love and attention and a little spiffing up. And so you could find that gap. So then you could tend to the gap and make it smaller, right? So as a concept, if that feels too abstract, or if that feels like, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do, or I don't know, whatever, bring all the questions to the first meeting. I want to hear from you. What do you need? I want to hear from you how this category could best serve you and support you, so I could weave that feedback into the content that I create. And of course, I'm always here if you guys need anything. So that's part 1. Part 2, I want you to set the intention for having the best love month.
Exactly.
Right? You're going to work it. You're going to have fun with it. And you are going to be engaged with it. So the challenge is going to be really fun and engaging, light, simple, and your participation will help you have a better experience, right? So the more you put into anything, and so God bless you. So if
Sorry.
that's okay. So if you are involved and engaged in it, you will have more fun, and you could hang out with us and engage with us, and the more you will experience the love, because the more that you, I mean, anything, how does the saying go? What you focus on grows. So the more we're going to focus on love, the more love we're going to have. So that's our intention for Love Month this year and always.
Emma.
This month, this year, and always. What's that?
Question.
Yes.
Numbers. People coming into this Love Month, love category at a number. Could be 2, could be 4, could be 10, it could be anything, right? We're going through this month. I'm going in all both feet in and 100% in. I think we all are. We all will. Numbers. What could you sort of say about numbers? no matter, I mean, do you want to come, is the goal to come out as a 10?
I love that question. So
What do we look at?
yeah, so Maddy and I touched on this a little bit as we prepare for this goal, right? Like in terms of how do we assess all of our categories, right? So why am I so good in the vision category and maybe not so good in the quality of life category, right? So what is it's all subjective, right? So how we measure it. And so it's not something that says, okay, if you give 5 kisses, you are a 5 level in the love category. Like there's not such a direct correlation to any of this. It's all subjective. Like, do you enjoy your sex life? Do you enjoy your partner? You know what I mean? So you could have the best, and I experience this with the work that I do, like the stories that I hear from people, some people, the things that they complain about, I'm like, wow, really? And then I hear some other people's like their life are terrible and I'm not judging, but just by all of the things that are happening in their lives, it's like, wow. And they still feel very differently. It's interesting, right? And so it's all perspective and it's all a matter of somebody's opinion about their own life. So to answer your question, Ken, I don't know that I would bother with the numbers, right? Because
it's okay.
They're all subjective. What are you measuring? You're measuring if you're happy about it today. Do I love my partner today? Yes, I do. Tomorrow I might not like him so much. Or at the end of the day, I know that I really love him, but maybe today I like him a lot, and the next day I don't like him so much. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So it's all this state of mood that you're in and how your perception that influences. So what I would say is strive to be the best partner that you could be.
Yeah.
And
That's
so however
great.
you want to measure that for yourself, right? However you want to measure that. If you want to give it numbers, if you have to, just because that's just the system that we're in, sure, let's bring those numbers further up. Would you hit a 10? Can you ever hit a 10? I'm sure there are people who have 10s across all the categories, but I'm sure that if you get the background information, that's far and few between. People are high, but maybe nobody's hitting perfection in all of the categories. So we want to get as high as possible.
Right.
From not necessarily from a numbers perspective, but more from like how I feel within myself, in my relationship with my partner, with the life that we're creating, and how can I be the best partner that I could be? Because then I invite my partner to be the partner that they could be. You see,
we grow it. Yeah. It's
I don't know if you heard the last comment that so Ken, I don't know if you heard the last comment that I said. When I'm the best partner I could be, I invite my partner to be the best partner that they could be.
I like that.
That is massive. A lot of people wait for their partner to be awesome so that they could be awesome to them, right? And then they're both waiting, right? But if we, like, I'm going to be, what kind of partner do I want to be? I'm going to be the best that I can most of the time. I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm going to do my best. And I mean, I, from personal experience, I know that when I'm like, you know what, all this stuff is bothering me, but do I have to look at it that way? What if I look at it that way? It goes away if you look at it differently. And then I treat my partner differently, and I get an amazing response back, and it's like, it does work. Right?
Sure does. Yes. Yvonne, you've got something to share related to this?
Yes, when I was going through my healing process, the category or the thing that threw me off the most that I didn't even realize was learning self-love. And that has to be mastered before you can even, it made so much difference. And I didn't even know I didn't have that. It took a lot. In fact, right. I had left my husband, left my job, and I'm going, something's still not right. And it was only when I truly learned self-love that the exponential growth occurred.
And what did
I
that
didn't even, I had no idea that, because I'm like, I don't have any trauma. I don't have any this, but I chose the partner I chose for a reason. And now that I can really go back, because I think it's been like 6 years, really go back to even my childhood and teachers and just things that, because I realized that big T and the little t for trauma mean the same thing in the subconscious. And so what I had was a jillion little t's and very few big T's. So you don't feel like you don't remember the little t's. And as it's peeled back, I've just become a better and better person, a better parent, a better partner, all of that. just better for me. and
That's
I think that
amazing.
that's missed a lot.
That's right. So that is so good, because I love that you just said, I got rid of the husband, I got rid of the job, but something was still not right. So people think that because they got rid of the partner, that life is going to be so different. we're still
It's
the
different,
ones,
but it doesn't mean it's better. But it's different.
but also be you. So yes, but that's right on both angles on that. But also you said that you did all this other work, right? So then you were able to attract a different partner, and everything changed too. And so people think that because they get rid of a partner, that all of a sudden everything's going to be so much different. That could be true, but not necessarily. Right. So the work that I do is like, we could change us and we could change the relationship, right? People have to get rid of the partner so that they could get a better partner, but you're still bringing you to whatever you're creating with somebody else. It's interesting. So thank you for that.
What changes the self-love though? What changes the self-love though? That's a good question.
Well, hang on, Ken. So we're out of time, people are dropping off. So I just want to wrap this up, just for Maddy's sake. I don't want to torture her and staying on here too long. So thank you for all of that, Yvonne. That was amazing. Right on the money. Perfect. And the self-love, thank you, Ken. We're going to be touching on some of that. I also did a very thorough presentation on that last year. I'm going to link it this month somewhere so you guys could have it. And focusing on that. One of the main things about self-love is respecting yourself, honoring yourself, and setting good boundaries, right? So it's not like, oh, let me go take a bath. That too, but it goes much deeper than that, right? It's not just doing the outside things. And so there is a lot of that in that presentation. And of course, we could continue this conversation as we go. We'll deepen all of this throughout the month.
Brilliant. Thank you, Emma. And that's great. There's so many more conversations to have, and obviously some of them we'll be having next month. So that's so cool. And I'll make sure I find some of these links and I'll pop them in when I share the recording with you all. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here today and sharing with us. It's been a real pleasure. And thank you so much, Emma. Yeah, it was magnificent as always. And
thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much for doing this with all of the categories, and thank you everybody who showed up and participated. Really appreciate you. And for everybody who's going to be watching, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you throughout Love Month.
Love to you all.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
It was awesome.
Thank you all. Thank you.